Hello, welcome to the I'm Excited podcast. I am your host, David Hicks. I am so excited to have Tran with me today. Thank you for being willing to do this. He has a very important journey of faith, a very important career in life where he confronts some of the deepest darknesses that life has to offer when it comes to sex trafficking. I've seen him to be a loving husband, a loving dad, and again, thank you for being willing to do this.
Of course.
So, let me start this way. First, explain what is your career right now? What are you doing? What is your job?
My job. So, as of right now, I am a criminal investigator assigned to a federal agency working federal cases involving major crimes. I'm also working cases that involve some human trafficking and some sex trafficking. And I've been part of that unit for approximately 7 years now.
So for 7 years, human trafficking, sex trafficking, if I am involved in that, and I'm one of the people you're trying to stop, where do you come in to the picture? Like, are you busting down my door with a gun, or what are you doing to stop me from what I'm doing?
That part of that is true. Part of that is true. I've got a team. I've got a unit that I operate with, and it takes a lot of us to work those kind of cases. We've got analysts that do a lot of the initial digging for us. We've got us as investigators, us that work hand in hand with some state and local partners that we get these cases from. Some of these cases are complex. Some of these cases involve other countries. Some of these other cases involve other states. I mean, it's just the area, and if you talk about physical area that we're looking into to work these cases, I mean, they're on a very large scale. I've worked cases all the way up to London before. I've worked cases that go all the way to Australia before.
Wow.
Things like that. Yeah, exactly. There are parts of this. Let me go back. There's parts of this crime in itself that I feel they're really intricate, and people have gotten so good at disguising these kind of things that here in USA, here in the Dallas area, that we are so oblivious to that the clues right there in front of us that we just don't catch on unless you do this job in itself that you can see. Does that kind of make sense?
That makes sense. So you're talking your experience. It's a global experience in some ways, but especially in the Dallas Fort Worth area, in the States. It brings me to this question. Now, I want to get to your journey of how you got to this point from childhood to here. But what you're saying is hits on one of the questions I definitely want to ask in this interview, and that is, how bad is it out there? I mean, we get notifications on our cell phone, the alerts, someone's been abducted, someone's been kidnapped. And for most of us, we don't personally know the name. And we see the stuff talked about in the news. We see, there's movies about it and things like that. But what is the scale of what's going on out there when it comes to human trafficking and sex trafficking?
It's sad to say, but it's a very fine-tuned criminal enterprise. You've got scouters that scout the area. I hate to say this, but sometimes there are some locations that are just lacking a resource in the sense that it's not a strong police presence in some areas. Most of the impoverished areas that you've got some parents that are working, that you got two you got two parents that are always working. You've got certain situations where you've got people that groom some of these victims that get into this kind of thing. And then again, you got over here in Dallas, just not too far down the road from here, you've got a heavily trafficked area that you've got prostitutes that work up and down the streets that that somebody may come and offer them a better life with a lie, or a better opportunity for advancement or make more money, and then those people who believe get caught up in the trafficking themselves, and then they become victims themselves. And then there are some times in the situation where those victims become the trafficker because they know this life. It becomes cyclical to them. They just do it, and once they get accustomed to it, they become kind of numb to it, so they don't view themselves much as a victim anymore. And then they just continue on to victimize other people as well. So they become part of this criminal enterprise, as I said earlier. And then, it's kind of, in a nutshell, that's kind of what it is.
So I hear, okay, so I'm hearing what you're saying. And the first thing is, as a parent, and you are a parent of young children.
I got two, yes.
You got 2 young children. And yet you're on the front lines of seeing this evil happen, and the alarm bell, I mean, has got to be on, going off almost 24/7 in your head, and it goes off in mine as well, even though my son is grown now. What might have happened to him in the past? How is this happening? How are children? How can we protect our children? What are signs and warning signs that we can use to help our children be saved from being taken into this darkness?
Just like you mentioned, I've got 2 little girls. Let me go back and say this. I'm not a typical dad because I know a little too much as how the evilness in the world is. I'm very protective of my girls, my family. I feel that as parents, what you're asking, I think, be involved, know their friends, know their path. There's certain things that we can do as parents to just alleviate some of this, or just make it safer for our kids to just be in this environment. And the whole, I don't let my girls talk to strangers. We monitor every kind of online things that they can get their hands on. But that's just the way the world is now. Predators are through the web, where they're asking children to, show off their bodies in certain games, certain kind of, certain apps, these kind of things, and if we, as parents, monitor these things and we basically put a limit on these kind of things, that's part of eliminating some things, because once again, kids don't know what is harmless and what's not harmless, or it's just this or just that, but not really, because do you really know who's on the other side of that computer or that tablet or the phone or whatever the device is? And on top of that, we've got people that pretend to be kids or other kids that have interest in video games and apps and all this kind of stuff, and they just have the communication. It's kind of, texting has evolved in such a sense that we're video chatting, we're doing all the kind of things, but I can tell you one story. My daughter thought this was a little girl that was playing on a game that it really wasn't, and it's the way I would say this: if the bad person on the other side wants bad enough, they're going to do whatever it takes to get that. So, if they're going to have other kids pose for them for the sake of, like I mentioned earlier, for the grooming, for becoming part of this criminal enterprise, they're going to do it. And as parents, be mindful of who the kids' friends are. Make sure that a lot of things that the kids are doing, especially with their family's routine, and it's in a safe manner. Things that are of digital media, all kinds of platforms. Just make sure that the kids know who the friends are. Like I said, know who the friends are, what apps are playing, time limits, things of those nature. And as far as to even for your kids to, I dare say, have some kind of monitoring device, to know where they're at, and to know what they're doing, things like that, and to talk about. The kids need to hear these things. It's a hard topic to bring up, but these are things. This is reality. This is the reality of today's world. That this is what's going on, and I value parents that heed the warning and know that, hey, we've got to do something in the sense of we've got to little hone in on some of this stuff. And it may seem a little controlling, but I promise you, you'd be thankful that you did, because at least you know where your kids are, what they're doing, and that's important. It's not like the 90s anymore, or the 80s back then,
It's okay. So in this illustration you gave, your daughter's playing an app on the iPad or something,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like some kind of chat where
Yeah, there's an open chat, and it, unbeknownst to us, my daughter clicked on it, and somebody else was talking, and asking some, unfavorable things, and immediately my daughter brings it up to Dad, what's this? I'm like, no, and even for myself as this career, even that even was kind of I dropped the ball on that. I wasn't 100% sure about this kind of game stuff, but that has been resolved. But my daughter knew exactly, hey, this is weird. I don't at 7, she's like, this is weird. Dad, what is this?
Was she alerted that it was weird, do you think, because of how you had talked to her and things you had told her in the past?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. My wife would say that, I'm a little too strict on some things, but, our circle is very small with who we interact with, and every day, things like that, we have certain people that she's allowed to go hang out with, and also just as far as family members. But yeah, she knows that I'm not to associate with anybody on the web, because we don't know. And I've shown her an example that I could be somebody. I could provide myself as an avatar, or somebody that looks differently, and I could, speak your language at a 7-year-old and could portray somebody else, and I could not really be that person. And it took a little bit for her to wrap her head around the fact that, why would an adult want to hurt me? It took a little bit, and it took a little bit for her to understand that. Okay, so she is very aware that this is it's unsafe. But if I listen to my parents and I heed their warnings and I heed what they say and obey, then I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna stay safe, and that's what she knows. So, like I said, that was a one-time thing where she had gotten an iPad, and it was a new app that we didn't research as well as we did, and what the capabilities of the app was and the game was. But now we know. So now we know, okay, this is blocked. These, we're going to stay within these 2 bumpers. We're just going to do that, and she's fine and dandy with that. So we're good.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to take it, soak in. Child's app has a chat, and that's got to be a perfect place for predators to strike.
Oh, yes.
I saw on the street the other day a couple of elementary kids. Mm-hmm. Both of them had a cell phone. What's your thought about cell phones in the hands of our children? The age that, how do you warn them for it? What about a good age for it to then to have their first cell phone? I mean, what are your thoughts from what you see?
So we've seen cell phones with some inappropriate things at the age of 11. I've seen some of that before, where we've retrieved some phones. The sad part is, I can't speak for every parent's the necessity for some phones. Some kids have different situations where they've got to be bused or driven to certain different places, so they may need a mode of communication for their life situations, and I get those kind of things. A hard age I don't have, but what I really think is that we need to limit. We as parents and adults and caregivers have the ability to limit certain things on the phone for kids. We can do those things if we just take the time to just research, look. I think that we can alleviate some of the things that the kids could get into, just as long as we do that. Phone communication, I mean, it's 2024. We need those kind of things within our kids. We need to, talk to them, let them know, hey, things change, it's ever changing daily. I don't, once again, but as far as the age, I don't have an age, but as we as parents give our child a phone, give our child something to do. We need to limit these things. These apps are not allowed. Parent control, all sorts of things where this is for phone, These are the numbers that you can call. These are the numbers that can come in. We can do that. Apps, can't get any apps unless mom and dad say yes or no. And chat, these are the only the limitations on numbers that we can receive chat. I mean, there's tons of things for parents to have as far as control, parental controls on these things. And I think parents need to exercise that just a little more caution.
So you're saying, okay, my child needs a cell phone, and then just educate yourself and put restrictions on the phone.
Absolutely.
Find what can help protect your child from predators, from bad pictures, from all these kinds of evil things. You said something a minute ago that I thought was very, your daughter asked why would an adult, or she's trying to wrap her head around why would an adult want to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So from your experience, what are you seeing out there? Why are adults hurting children so much and so freely? Is it just a love of money thing? Is it deep? Is there a variety of things? Why are so many adults don't have the love for children that they should, or people, humanity in general?
My opinion, it's evil. It really is. I don't know what it takes to what I do, but I mean, I can't discuss all these things,
Right,
in the public.
right.
But I just feel that there's an evilness. As many interviews that I've done with these predators, as many flights that I've flown to other states to find these predators and make these arrests, things like that, I just feel there's a sense of evilness behind them, and they prey in the innocence. They prey in the I'm not going to call it ignorance, but they just pray for they don't know. These kids they don't know. They're not mature. They don't know, and they're easily influenced, and lots of things like that. And the predators, they know. That's why they're called predators. They know. They know what to do. Just like in the wilderness, the predators. They're going after the weak. They're going after the ones that can't. The defenseless is what it is, and these kind of things, whatever their motive is to entice these kids to get involved in these things, or to work these kind of industry kind of things. I mean, yes, the evilness, the love of money. And some of these predators have children themselves and their parents. That's to me that's crazy for that to even happen, for those kind of things. But going back to why they would do it, the only thing is just evilness. There's just an evilness that they just don't understand. There's huge consequences for these kind of things. The consequence that they understand is, it's risky, the fact that they get arrested, but the consequences of hurting a child or having some kind of emotional damage and things like that, in the long run, that they don't. That's something that they're not able to grasp and understand. So.
The child is trafficked. Okay, you rescue some of these.
Yes. Unfortunately.
What happens to them? What happens to the next? Generally speaking, are they immediately reunited with families? What happens when you rescue a child, a youth, a teen, even adult from trafficking?
Well, after the illicit act has happened, and once predators have been caught, we call it there's a phase that we kind of label as far as the rehabilitation. So we try to rehabilitate the victims back as far as just general trust. Now we're trying to rebuild trust. Hey, we're the good people. We're trying to help you in a sense. Communication, some of the mental trauma they've gone through, some physical trauma they've gone through. Counselors, we've got physicians, we've got outreach personnel. Some people have been removed from their family, and some have just, there's so many different stages and it feels a little bit tug and kind of a push-pull thing with these victims, and I feel so sad that they have to go through this, but we're just trying to get them where they're comfortable back to where they can trust again, where they can feel, where they can feel that they've got some kind of self-worth again, because they've been mentally beaten down, they've been mentally drugged through certain things that we can only imagine, and the sad part is, this is part of them getting back into life themselves. And what's sad is some of these victims, their families, they might have had a troubled teen or a troubled person in their family that they feel they've been forgotten, and those kind of things where we can try to build relationships back with their families, things like that. My role as a law enforcement officer, I have a specific role, and the team that goes out to do all the help with all the triage from back and with the rehabilitation, I give my hats off to them, because that my job is simple compared to what they've got to go through for each of these victims.
What? Okay, so let's talk about your journey to this point. How did you get here? And especially when it hit on your faith, you talked about evilness, and I want to understand how your faith, your belief in Christ affects the dynamic of what you do and what you deal with.
Sure.
So all right, just going back to the beginning, your upbringing, your family dynamics, where was God in your youth, your relationship with God? What was that like growing up?
Growing up, I grew up Catholic, and my parents came here from Vietnam they came to the United States back in the 70s. Grew up in Arlington, and I've got two older sisters and a brother. When I say we grew up Catholic, I want to say, knowing what I know now, I wasn't sure what that meant. I didn't know what that meant to be Catholic. I didn't know what that meant to follow Christ, because the way that I was taught was nothing the way that I see it as now. So I was kind of a lost Christian. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but I was lost. I was lost. Like I said, so I've been in law enforcement for 20 years, and the majority of that time I was kind of lost. So I didn't have a good sense of Christ to follow me, to keep my mind clear, to keep myself feeling safe in these situations. And working this kind of crime just kind of happened the last 7 to 8 years, in the latter part of my career. I got to know Christ after I got married, so for approximately almost 8 years now, and it has helped me quite a bit. To feel strong in these situations, feel strong in the faith, feel strong to sit in a room, feel strong to stand up against these kind of things, these people who have done these acts. I felt strong to kind of come in there, not with basically, like the kids say, with the armor of God. I feel strong to come into these kind of things, and just knowing that, hey, not only am I doing the work that the public needs, that society needs, to keep people safe, to rid of these bad people, but just know that, hey, I'm coming in with a little bit of extra strength, a little bit extra on me, so I'm confident when I come in. I'm not trembling. I used to tremble because I felt, if you don't, there are some of these people that I felt evilness that you would not fathom. You can just feel in the air that these people, it's not just they did something wrong, but something is truly oppressive about them. And I think, I think being a follower has made me a much better interviewer, has made me a better law enforcement officer, and just made me just a better person in general, just to deal with these kind of things. There are some hard cases that I deal with that I stay up sometimes, just upset and sad, things like that. But I pray over myself. I pray before myself before I go to the interview room. I pray over myself before I encounter them. I pray after, kind of a cleanse. Kind of after I deal with these interviews and these people, and it's helped. It helps tremendously. It's who I am. That's what it is. It's who I am. So it's funny you say that. I was I can't remember which Carolinas I was in. I was in the Carolinas, and we were looking for a predator. We found them in the Carolinas, and a couple days over there interviewing them in their local PD. After that was done, put them on a plane and fly back with them. And not even mentioning my faith to this person, he just looked at me on the plane and said, "Are you a believer?" I said,
He looked in your plane and said, "Are you a believer?"
That's absolutely
The predator.
the predator.
Okay.
And I said, "You know what? Never gave an inkling that I was. Never gave I don't have any kind of jewelry that would signify that.
Right.
So I remained objective with the case itself and just worked as I normally do. And the next day, it's time to fly. Got in the car, drove from the facility and got to the airport and flew back with him. And about mid-flight, he just looked at me and just asked me, "Yes, I am. Absolutely, I am."
How did he respond to you saying you're a believer?
Quiet. I think he didn't know how to take it. And I think at that point he knew. I was like, this guy operates differently. He's operating very differently. So he quietly was away, and I felt the oppressiveness kind of flee. It felt that it's a little bit. I felt more calm, I guess, in one say, because I vocalized it to somebody that asked. I vocalized it. So, sorry, I'm teared up from that, but
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
But yeah, it was. Forgot your question in a sense.
Oh no, it's good because you have this faith, and again, you're going up against some of the deepest darkness this world can throw, and you're consistently having to confront this and deal with this. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to part 1 of my interview with Don Tran. We will continue our discussion in which Don's going to share his journey to faith in Christ Jesus, why we should follow Jesus. He's going to answer such questions as, if you think your child has been taken by somebody, what do you do? If you want to get into law enforcement to help stop human trafficking, what's his advice? Why did he get into law enforcement? What can we do for those of us who are, we're not going to become cops and things like that, but what can we do to help the situation and other things as well? So please feel free to tune in to part 2 of my interview with Don Tran. Thank you for listening. God bless you.